Sandra. Welcome to another episode of Asexualise, My Asexual Life. This is a place to be for education about asexuality, so subscribe and hit that bell icon right now. So in today's video, we're going to be discussing for Asexual Perspectives Awareness Month, advice that asexuals give to other people who are considering if they're asexual or not, or who are new to asexuality. And they know that they are asexual, but they're still trying to figure out how exactly. Let's dive in. So we're taking excerpts from Asexual Perspectives book today, and this book is available on Amazon. So I'll be reading excerpts out for you. What advice would you give to others who are just discovering about asexuality and considering whether they are or not? Don't listen to what sexuals tell you about who you are, because they don't know how you feel anymore than an ace understands how they feel. We have different orientations and have no business trying to force them on each other. Know that while it makes it harder to find someone, it doesn't mean you'll be alone. Also, just because you're rare, it doesn't mean that you are also broken or have to be alone. Hello, Olivia. Lots of love. Nice to see you. It'll be a shorter stream tonight because I'm planning on going out. But for the first time in a long time with mixing with people. Are you describing yourself? No, Olivia, I'm describing Kenneth Williams' story. You're right to ask me that question because I don't think I said the person's story I was reading out. So in Asexual Perspectives book, that was Kenneth Williams' story. So I'm reading today from Asexual Perspectives book, and we're discussing what advice asexuals would give to other people who are just discovering if they're asexual or not, and also for anyone who's new to asexuality. They know they're asexual, but they're not quite sure where they fit in. Because it suits you. So yeah, no, that was actually Kenneth Williams' story, but thank you. Yeah, I do agree with it. It's important, like your personality. Oh, thank you. So yeah, I do agree that it's don't listen to what sexuals tell you about who you are, because they don't know how you feel any more than an ace understands how they feel. However, I have been in heterosexual relationships for a lot of my life, so I kind of do understand heterosexuals to a certain extent, even though I'm not a heterosexual. I thought I was for years. I thought I was heterosexual for years. So at that point in my life years ago, I didn't realize I wasn't. So I do understand to a certain extent how heterosexuals feel. And obviously I know how asexuals feel. That's why I feel I'm very good to live my mission, which is to get asexuality recognized as a sexual orientation in its own right throughout the globe, so no asexual has to live in fear of ridicule ever again. I believe I was born to bridge the gap between asexuals and sexuals in terms of understanding, because I do understand both points of view to a certain extent. Obviously I am asexual and I help asexuals, and I understand sexuals to a certain extent because I've been with them. I've been in sexual relationships in the past. So but I think it's very important to know that we're not the same as each other, and therefore we have to learn to understand about the different types of sexual attractions and different types of sexual orientations. That's very important. Olivia, I wonder when everyone else is going to be here because it's a bit lonely. Oh, bless you. Well, it is earlier than I usually stream because I'm planning to go out tonight, and so it's going to be a shorter stream. There are more people. Well, it's at least one other person watching, but some people are quieter than you. Bless you. So yeah. So I do agree that it is important we have different orientations and have no business trying to force them on each other. I think that's really important. So I do agree with Kenneth on that. And no, but while it makes it hard to find someone, it doesn't mean you'll be alone. So I actually met my best friend via an asexual dating site, even though we're not suitable for a relationship, and he's into guys and he doesn't currently identify as asexual. Although I still think he's most likely on the grey asexual part of the asexual spectrum. But we were having a discussion about that recently, that it's possible he might still be on the grey asexual part of the asexual spectrum. But yeah, it's that's how I met him. So had I not been on an asexual dating site, even though I haven't met the right asexual guy for a relationship for me, I have got a really good best friend. He's more into guys, so that's why I'm not compatible in that way. And I love kissing. He's not really into kissing, especially not women. So there we go. Anyway, I do agree. Also, just because you're rare, it doesn't mean that you are also broken or have to be alone. So it's true. You're not broken just because you're asexual. It's good to be different, right? I think so. So Nikki's story in Asexual Perspectives book. You can get a copy of this book on Amazon, by the way. So what advice would you give to others who are just discovering about asexuality and considering where they are or not? Don't force yourself into any boxes. Labels can really help you sort out who you are and help you to see you are not alone. But the spectrum behind the label is so important too. For a while, I felt that I wasn't truly asexual since I wasn't really sex repulsed. I would say to explore the whole spectrum, and if any part of it resonates with you, then embrace that. There is no one correct way to be asexual. I think it's important to know there are pure asexuals and grey asexuals, because some people don't understand that there's two types of asexuals, and the pure asexuals are the ones that don't experience any sexual attraction whatsoever. I don't experience any sexual attraction whatsoever. The grey asexuals are the ones that may experience sexual attraction, but it's only infrequently or under limited or rare or specific circumstances usually. So I think it's very important that we understand that every person is different and we treat every asexual as such. So if you're looking to get into a relationship with an asexual person, or you just want to have more asexual friends, it's important that you ask the asexual person, like, what does asexuality mean to them? What does it entail? If you are looking to get into a relationship with an asexual, it's very important you ask them how their asexuality impacts their relationship, their romantic relationship, for example, or if you're a heterosexual person, how it would impact that. You know, you need to have a very open, honest conversation about how that dynamic would work and if it would work or not at all, right? But every asexual is different. Like, I really love kissing so much. That's quite rare for an asexual person in my experience. And I've been like on this channel now since 2015. I've known I'm asexual since 2014, right? I started this channel in October 2015. So 10 years nearly. It's over 10 years I've known I'm asexual, but 10 years this October since I've had this channel, which is incredible. Thank you for being here. Lots of love to everyone in chat, including Olivia. Olivia's the only one in chat at the moment. We got some shy people today. It's probably because I've done it at a different time. Everyone comes out at night like me, I think. Usually they're not as shy. So I think like Nikki's story is very important, that don't force yourself into any box. So the fact I'm a hyper romantic and hyper kisser doesn't really fit into any asexual box. It's not normal for any sexuality, I don't think, although I have come across a few hyper romantic asexuals in conversations on this channel, like in comments rather than in chat. So I think it's very important that you make sure that you have conversations with the people you come into contact with. Like, even as a friend, there might be some friends you have, and it's important to share that you're asexual so they can understand you better. I know some people get quite scared of telling people they're asexual, but at the end of the day, if someone doesn't accept you for who you are, then they're not really your friend. They don't, you know, they're not really suitable for you. You've got to be able to enjoy being your true, authentic self and live as you are. Do you know what I mean? It's so important to cherish and nourish your own identity rather than relying on other people to validate that identity. It's important you know who you are and you stick to who you are, you know, in the greatest sense of the word. I'm not saying you can't change. You should change if you need to change something for the better, right? But you should also love being you. And what some people see as a disadvantage or weakness, or they don't like, you could flourish and shine as you are, as that thing, right? So some people don't like the fact I talk a lot, right? Whereas other people love the fact I talk a lot, because I hear, you know, I'm here having a chat with you right now, right? Which if I wasn't able to talk a lot, I wouldn't be able to do. And so it's really important that you live your truth. and be your authentic self and do what's right for you in your life. And that includes your asexuality, you know. The fact I'm a hyperkisser and hyper-romantic, I mean, hyperkisser especially, I have not known any sexual orientation that has a hyperkisser in it. None. I have never come across another hyperkisser in my life. It'd be nice if I did and he was a guy who was actually suitable for me, but there we go. I haven't even come across one of any sexual orientation yet, but there we go. There's got to be some out there, surely. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just a unique one of the whole world, which I find hard to believe, but there we go. What advice would you give to others who are just discovering about asexuality and considering where they are or not? This is Dee's story in Asexual Perspectives book. So, don't have sex unless you're confident you want it. This is really good advice. Also, don't feel the need to put yourself in a box one way or the other. We just talked about that. Also related, just because you've done something before doesn't mean you need to do it again or do it with this particular guy. That is so important. Like, I'm an asexual who has had sex in the past, but that was in 2011 the last time, and I'd rather not do it ever again because I'm not interested. I only did it really because that's what society dictates, and I didn't know that asexuality existed. I didn't know there were people like me, and I was kind of conditioned to believe that that's what you're meant to do. And all these people, like even like traditional dating coaches, I'm an asexual dating coach, but traditional dating coaches, and an AI coach, I am as well, dating a relationship coach. Traditional dating coaches, they'll even tell you like part of a healthy relationship is having sex. It's like, no, it's not healthy if a person or people in the relationship don't want sex. That making someone or asking someone to do something they're uncomfortable with, don't like, or not interested in is not healthy, right? What's healthy is if the people involved both enjoy that activity, both like the experience, and both have fun doing it. Otherwise, there's no point, right? We're just doing it to people please the other person, right? So I'm not saying there's anything wrong in doing stuff to please your partner, but there is if it's at the expense of what you fundamentally like and enjoy. And if you're doing something like that you don't like, don't do it. I did it before because I was pressurized into it at 16. I've told this story before. I'm not going to go into it in detail, but basically at 16, I was pressurized into doing that. And I did that at the time, the first time ever. And, now I know not to do that. But I was lacking in self-love back then. I was lacking in self-esteem. I thought I was going to lose the guy. I lost the guy anyway. 6 months later, he dumped me, right? And he told me that he'd been looking at other women behind my back. And that was the worst thing. It's one of the worst experiences of my life because that whole thing, psychological factor that he'd been looking at people, women, like stood next to me in the bus stop, he said. I had no idea he was doing that. And so that just made it 10 times worse. Do you know what I mean? It's like you've just been looking at them right next to me. Do you know what I mean? And clearly that guy wasn't right for me. Years later, he did actually come back into my life. Only guy who's ever done this and apologized for his behavior. Because, you know what I mean? He basically pressurized me into having sex, which he should never have done. And he actually was guilty. Must have felt guilty for years. I mean, it was a long time when he came back and apologized. But I'm glad he did. I ended up being on speaking terms with him again and working at a voluntary organization that he ran for a while. But he wanted to be like my Facebook friend and stuff. And I'm like, no, that's it. And then I don't see him. If I see him with his girlfriend now, his girlfriend's really nice, and I'll say hi to him and stuff like that. So I have come to terms with that. But what he did still doesn't change. So, it still doesn't mean he didn't do that. And having that done to you when you're like 16, and I wasn't even thinking about sex, and he brought it up and was pressurizing me to do it. It's horrible. So don't do what I did and be pressurized into it, because that's not good for you. It's not healthy for you. And no one should be pushing you to do that. Luckily, it didn't really hurt. So I'm glad about that. But that's not really the point. You shouldn't have been pressurizing me into it. But it wasn't a bad experience in terms of it didn't hurt me, but I wasn't really bothered about it. Do you know what I mean? And I was pressurized into doing that, which is really horrendous. So he knows what he did was wrong. And I'm glad he did come back and apologize, because it has helped deal with that situation, even though it shouldn't have happened. And I'm being honest with you here, because I know there are some people watching this channel now that will feel pressurized into doing that. But I want you to know there are other people out there like you who don't need sex to have a relationship, and sex is not love. That guy still dumped me 6 months later, right? I didn't see that coming either. I honestly didn't. But he clearly wasn't right for me. But he's like, oh, all my friends are doing it. That's what I want, Very, very selfish. There's a lot of selfish people in the world with regards to relationships. So doesn't mean to say everyone is. There's loving, caring, kind people out there, but be very careful. Do you know what I mean? Know that your body is precious, it's yours, and you do not have to give it to anyone or do anything with it. Olivia, I got wolf whistled at Asda today. Yeah, Olivia, I can imagine that guys like your shape, if you know what I mean. So the thing with like I'm a larger girl, for example, and I've got big butt, big bust, and big thighs, and all these type of things. So it means that these parts on the body are very, you know, a lot of guys treat them as sexual parts. And, you know, if you're a skinny girl, right, then lots of skinny girls, not all skinny girls, but a lot of skinny girls don't have much bust. You know, they haven't got very large breasts, basically. But as I'm a bigger girl, then obviously I do. And that attracts a lot of guys. And so if you've got a body that's big and beautiful, some guys will really get turned on by that. And you've got to be very careful because they can try to take advantage of you. I'm saying that to help you. But I'm not surprised you got wolf whistled by guys, because some guys, they love the voluptuous look. So the voluptuous look is like very kind of a sexual, like, you know, in the body. They like big boobs. I mean, obviously, I haven't seen all your body, so I don't want to go into like describing your body or anything, but I'm describing mine. Like I got a really big bum and big thighs and hips and big bust and do you know what I mean? When you're well formed like that, there are a lot of guys that do go after that, regardless of like whether we're skinny or not. But usually the skinny girls don't have that to their advantage. Lots of guys usually like skinny girls, but there's a proportion of guys that love bigger girls because they love the voluptuousness of us and are you know, they can see us kind of very, you know, very attractive because they want to touch things like we've got. I just wanted to make you aware of that because, you know, we do look good looking in and of ourselves. Do you know what I mean? And it's a myth that every guy likes skinny girls. It's completely a myth. Some guys like, that's why BBWs exist, big beautiful women. They're plus sizes. So I'm not actually a plus size. So I don't kind of fit into that category, technically speaking, but sometimes I refer to myself as a big, beautiful woman, but I'm not actually a plus size. So I kind of don't technically fit into that because I'm meant to be plus size in dresses and stuff. But there are a proportion of guys who like, there's dating sites for big, beautiful women. There's groups and people that love big, beautiful women, but they usually like them to have sex with them quite a lot. So, do you know what I mean? They like it because they can grab hold of things and all this type of thing. So I do want to put a little bit of a warning, beware out there that, you know, we are big, beautiful women are very attractive and more voluptuous and stuff like that. So we have to be careful because we have to know our worth, that we are very, you know, you can be, you don't have to be skinny to be hot and sexy to guys. That's or any gender. That's what I'm trying to say. I've had lesbians after me. Do you know what I mean? Like attracted to me. I thought they were interested in the guys with or something, and they came around and made it known they were interested in me. I'm not a lesbian, but I mean, you could argue it's quite flattering in some ways. But I think it's quite funny. I remember I was with two people once, and they both were assigned male at birth, but one of them didn't identify as male. They identified as non-binary. The other person later on became non-binary. But they were male when I first knew them. So identified as male when I first knew them. I'll say not that they were, because I'm saying how they identified. So anyway, this woman came round and I thought she was going to chat the two people I was with. And she didn't. She's like, said something to me looking good or something. Olivia, thanks. My dad told them to pee off. I don't really like swearing, but when I get angry, I get angry. Yeah, I'm glad your dad said that to them because they are probably after sex. I'll be honest with you about that. It's nice your dad stuck up for you like that. Do you know what I mean? Because yeah, I can see how guys would be interested in you like that. Because for your age, you're quite advanced, if you know what I mean, you know, in bodily shape and stuff. So I think I started like my periods about 12 years old or something like that. So then you hit puberty and then you develop quite fast. And I was a big girl at school as well. So it means you got like, you know, like the fuller figure that some guys love those type of things. So I just wanted to put it out there because it's just a complete myth that every guy likes skinny girls. So, I mean, lots of guys actually like older women. I like younger guys, but a lot of guys like older women to have sex with. It's like their fantasy. So it's very difficult for me because I want a romantic, non-sexual relationship with a younger guy in his early to mid 20s, obviously legal adult age I'm talking about. And you know, a lot of them are seeking sexual relationships with an older woman, not a romantic one that doesn't involve sex. So that's really hard as an asexual person. I think there's got to be some guys out there for me, do you know what I mean? But it's hard to find those ones because a lot of the time I attract the guys that are opposite to me. So yes. Joelle's story from asexual perspectives. What advice would you give to others who are just discovering about asexuality and considering where they are or not? Don't feel like you have to define your sexuality in absolutes. You are not required to decide that you will forever and always like one thing. This week you might be interested in a boy, next time a girl, somebody, and sometimes nobody, and other times everybody. I've never been interested in everybody in that way. You don't have to label yourself with a permanent marker. Sexuality, like life, is fluid. You may have hated broccoli as a kid and love it now, or you may have never liked it. I love their analogy. Don't force yourself into a box you can't get out of if you change your mind. I think it's very important to respect your own thoughts and feelings, emotions. I think it's perfectly fine that if you do want to label yourself right now, know that you can, if your life changes, that you can like change, you know, with the times. Like you, I mean, this person saying saying sexuality is fluid, right? I never thought of sexuality being fluid. I thought of it as always being fixed, but I did used to identify as heterosexual because I didn't know asexuality was an actual thing. I didn't know there was a word for what I was feeling. So it's very important that you get to understand yourself, how you feel. And if you do want to give yourself an identity of labeling your own asexuality, that's fine. You can still, as you discover more and more about yourself, change that label or identity if you want to, right? Because sometimes things happen in life. Sometimes you change your views. Sometimes we're conditioned to believe we're a certain sexuality. Like I was conditioned to believe I was heterosexual for years. But then you realize, actually, this doesn't fit me. That's not who I am, right? And so there is something called ace flux as well, where you fluctuate up and down the asexual spectrum, which, well, there's two forms of ace flux. One is where you fluctuate up and down the asexual spectrum. So you could experience no sexual attraction, then go up to experiencing it in limited, rare, or specific circumstances, and back down to not experiencing it again. That's one form of ace flux. Or another form of ace flux is where you can fluctuate between the asexual spectrum and sexual spectrum, right? So there's two ace fluxes there. So you have to understand that ace flux is an actual real thing, because some people are like, oh, I fluctuate so much I couldn't possibly label myself. But it's actually the fluctuation is a label. Do you know what I mean? Or can be a label. So always decide what's best for you. And if you are just discovering you're asexual, I would highly recommend you do a lot of discovery before you do label yourself as what you think you are for definite. Because in the beginning of my asexual journey, I was like still discovering where I fit on the asexual spectrum. And sometimes that can take a long time. It took 3 weeks for me to discover how I identified. And then I kind of added more to my label. So I identify as a heteroromantic, hyperromantic, grey A, asexual, younger cougar who doesn't like kissing. Who doesn't like kissing, who loves kissing, I meant. Who loves kissing but not sex. I really screwed that up, didn't I? I identify, I'll say this again, as a heteroromantic, hyperromantic, grey A, asexual, younger cougar who doesn't like sex, just kissing. Oh my God. Why did I get that wrong before? How can I say I don't like kissing? I love kissing. So yeah, that's how I identify. But the grey A is grey areas to me. So I redefine grey A in this book to mean grey areas, but a typical grey A does experience some sexual attraction. And I don't. So some people on Avon, or one particular person a long time ago, said you can't identify as grey A because you don't experience any sexual attraction. So technically you're not a grey A. But as grey area used to be a catch-all term for anyone between asexual and sexual, and I have some sexual behavior but zero sexual attraction, I then think grey A should be redefined as those people who have grey areas such as sexual behavior despite not having any sexual attraction. That's my personal opinion. That's never been redefined. But I just like to do that as my full title. Other times I just say I'm heteromantic asexual into younger guys, basically. Do you know what I mean? Because I just am not interested in guys anywhere near my birth certificate age usually. Although I do get attracted to Daddy Yankee, who's older than me in birth certificate age. I don't think Daddy Yankee's going to come along anytime soon and whisk me off my asexual feet. And I don't think he's asexual. But you never know. There could be a hidden story there. Anyway, Katie's story. What advice would you give to others who are just discovering about asexuality and considering where they are or not? Be confident yourself, embrace who you are, and know that everything will turn out all right somehow. I love that. I love that. Right, Jen Mullen's story. What advice would you give to others who are just discovering asexuality and considering where they are or not? It's pretty common to think you might be demisexual before you land at asexual. Don't stress on it. Identity and sexuality can be fluid. Don't let anyone give you trouble because you said something before and realize you found something that fits better. Now, I think that's really important. Like I said, you know, like I've had sex in the past. I don't see me ever having it again. Sex repulsed asexual for me personally these days. But if I did want that again, ever, even if it's just a one-off or to try it again or whatever, then I'm not gonna like hate myself for it or something. Like at the moment, I definitely am not interested in trying ever again or doing that ever again in my life, and I can't see that changing. But do you know what I mean? I'm not going to punish myself if I did. I think that it's important. I'm still like not experiencing any sexual attraction whatsoever. I never look at a guy and think I want sex with him ever. It doesn't ever enter my head. So I'm still asexual, regardless of what action I take. But obviously I'm currently completely sex repulsed at the moment for me personally, not others who like it, want it, need it, consensual. So Thylacine story in Asexual Perspectives book. What advice would you give to others who are just discovering about asexuality and considering where they are or not? Young people today are so much luckier than when I was growing up. Back then, you just couldn't be yourself. Man, now you see guys walking down the street wearing a dress. Yep, kids today are lucky. We didn't have that kind of freedom. We didn't. Yes, there is actually transvestites, transsexuals, cross-dressers, if you like, in my city, probably all of the above. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, it's the 21st century, people. Times move on and people should be more accepting of different sexualities. And, you know, people should be embracing each other's authenticity, not trying to hide other people's and who they are. So Marnie's story, what advice would you give to others who are just discovering about asexuality and considering where they are or not? No matter what, just be yourself. Those who love you will love you no matter what, and those who waver don't matter. Do not fear your true self. Staying true to you makes you happier and attracts more happiness. I totally agree with that. It's very important to stay your true, authentic self. I was just in an interview with Humans of Fuchsia, giving them advice about entrepreneurship and leadership, and saying the key is to remain your true, authentic self, especially in the digital age when people are trying to, you know, do everything by AI. AI is a great tool to use, but it should not replace humans, in my opinion. You know, we need to still be having our true, authentic voice, not trying to get someone else to replicate our voice. Our voice is powerful and strong, right? And we need to believe that. And we need to know that we are fine in and of our own right. Once you start loving yourself as you are in your own beautiful asexual self and in your own personal power, then other people can't manipulate you or control you like they used to. Because if you're comfortable with who you are, then they can't get in your mind and head and say, oh, you can't be this way. When you pander to the whims of other people and what they want you to be, then they can control and manipulate you. When you stand in your personal power and you're saying, I'm here, I'm me, take it or leave it, in a good way. I'm not saying if you've got bad traits like narcissistic traits and you're horrible to people, you've got no empathy, you're mean, not to change yourself. That's not what I'm talking about. Those traits you need to work on, you need to change them because they're not good traits and they're not healthy for you or anyone, right? But, you know, in terms of like being your beautiful, authentic, true self, being in your own personal power, your body, your mind, your spirit, your soul, your sexuality, and owning that is so important. Because if you're really loving who you are, I really love being asexual. I cannot tell you how much I love being asexual. I can't tell you how much joy it brings me to know there are other people like me in the world, and asexuality is a real thing. I discovered I'm asexual over 10 years ago now, in 2014, and I'm just ecstatic that I know I'm asexual and I can live as my true authentic self now. My life makes so much sense. It makes sense of why I look back. And when I was at school, I was thinking of romance and kissing a guy and holding his hand and taking a stroll with him, not sex. It makes sense that when guys even brought up sex, I'm like, huh? I haven't even thought of this. It makes sense that when a guy like got a condom in a drawer and I'm saying that's nice for you, one of my exes, I was just thinking it was like something nice for him, an object. I wasn't associating with me. Do you know what I mean? Same with a book, a sexual positions book. I bought one of my ex. I wasn't associating that with me. I was just like, here's a nice little book for you to look at, because you know what I mean? Because I know you like looking at that, and it's a cartoon book, and I'd rather you look at that than some other people, real life people. Because I consider that as not nice. It's like cheating if I've got a boyfriend, he's going around looking at naked men or women, even if it isn't a book of sexual positions. Do you know what I mean? So I got him in this little cartoon book. I never thought he would want to use those positions on me. Do you know what I mean? This is my past. I haven't had sex since 2011. I'm happily sex-free now, and I love being sex-free. It's very freeing when you know you don't have to have that pressure. You don't have to have that mess. You don't have to do those things. You can just be yourself and like, oh my God. And you don't have to dress up sexually. I hate it when guys who are sexual try to dress you up sexually. It's like, if you don't like my body for what it is and don't find me sexy or sexually attractive for who I am, then don't bother with me. I'm not interested. Why does a piece of fluffy underwear or lacy underwear make me look so much better? I'm all about being natural. You'll notice the majority of the time I don't wear any makeup. I haven't worn makeup for months because I don't need it, in my personal opinion. I don't have to rely on that to look beautiful and be confident in myself, right? But people who rely on makeup will continuously rely on makeup. If you want to stop that cycle, don't rely on it. Be your authentic self as you are in your own skin, with your own inner beauty shining outwards. So Henry's story. Don't be in a rush to find out your identity. It will come to you in time. Also, no matter what you finally decide you are, it's important to know that you're great just the way you are and to be happy with yourself. I think that's what I just read out, but I want to emphasize that again. So if you could have one wish about being asexual, what would it be and why? Is why I asked Andy P in here, but also I asked him, what advice would you give to others who are just discovering about asexuality and considering where they are or not? So Andy said he didn't have any wishes other than occasional fear. I'm really happy with who I am and how I'm living right now. Maybe that I could find someone that could tick all of my annoyingly specific boxes and still want to be with me, ? And then in terms of advice, I guess take your time. You don't have to know every aspect about it. It took me a few years to really know for sure how I felt about every single thing related to my orientation. You can shorthand your explanation to people, or you can tell them nothing. You don't owe it to explain to them. No, you don't owe an explanation to anyone. But I think in terms of a relationship, if you're looking for a relationship, you should be upfront about your asexuality and explain it, because I think they have a right to know in terms of how the relationship will function. I don't think you should be keeping secrets like that from your partner. So I do think you should be open and honest about your sexual orientation and about how that affects you and how that is for you. Do you know what I mean? Because if you're getting into a relationship, both people or all people in the relationship should know the other person's sexual orientation and how that affects them within their relationship and the impact that's going to have on it, because there's got to be open, honest discussions and communication in any type of relationship for it to be healthy, right, and happy. And honesty is really important. Eddie's story. What advice would you give to others who are just discovering about asexuality and considering where they are or not? This is from Asexual Perspectives book, available on Amazon. For more stories, don't forget to get a copy. Give it time. Really think about it. It's very easy to find a title and apply it to yourself, but it's important to make sure that's the right title. Read as much as you can and be honest with yourself. I do think it's important, like I said, especially when you're discovering about asexuality, to watch a lot of videos, read up about asexuality. Don't get a copy. I can't speak now. Don't forget to get a copy of Asexual Perspectives book, because this is really good at explaining asexuality in real life context. So yes. So let's go to the next story. This is Cassie's story. What advice would you give to others who are just discovering about asexuality and considering where they are or not? My advice would be to listen to yourself most of all. Don't give in to peer pressure. That's what I was saying earlier. Feel free to experiment and try different things if that appeals to you, but feel just as free to say no to something. Talk to someone if you want to, and don't try to force yourself to be something you're not. There's nothing wrong about being asexual, just as there's nothing wrong with being sexual, be it hetero, homo, bi, pan, or whatever. I think that's really good advice, you know, is to listen to yourself most of all. Always do this, even and the majority might be saying otherwise. The majority of people identify as heterosexual in the world still, but it doesn't matter to me, because I'm glad to be different. I'm glad to be a recorded 1% of the population who's asexual. And it's important to honor how you feel about relationships and sex and life in general. Do you know what I mean? So don't do yourself a disfavor. Listen to yourself and be kind to yourself and understand you. It's really hot in the UK at the moment. I got sweat coming down. What advice would you give to others who are just discovering about asexuality and considering where they are or not? This is to Anne. Keep an open mind as you learn. Just because you don't seem to fit anywhere doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It's an identity that may work for the time being, but not another point in your life. It's a way of trying to understand yourself, but it shouldn't be a straitjacket. Yeah, I think the general pattern in this book is all about not tying yourself down to a specific part of asexuality. If you're unsure or unclear, or you do change how you identify, then it's okay to do that. 5 Mark 2 end story. What advice would you give to others who are just discovering they're asexual or about asexuality and considering where they are or not? To research the topic before making any assumptions. I've seen so many comments, particularly on videos, where people are asking about asexuality that I've even pointed it out as them being allergic to research Google or missing the Google search bar and commenting it on on a conveniently placed video. Yeah, I love that with 5 Mark 2N, because it is like people are allergic to Google. It's like, oh, I have guys come on dating sites, and one thing that really annoys me sometimes is like the other thing that annoys me personally is when they go, oh, look up asexuality. I'm thinking, why don't you just go to my channel? I know a lot about it. I've been helping asexuals for over 10 years. So I find it a bit insulting when someone goes to me and I start talking about asexuality and they're like asexual and they don't go to my channel. They go to other information on the internet. I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, why don't you just go to my channel? Because I specialize in it, and I have understood it for over 10 years. Like, I understand it in an innate level as well, but I think it's better to go to, even if it's go to other people's channels or other books, I think it's much better to do that than not learn at all. Right? It just makes me laugh if they're in a private chat with me, you know, and I've got a guy, for example, and I was saying I'm asexual and I have a YouTube channel, and they're like, oh, I'll just Google it. I'm like, why don't you trust that I know what I'm talking about? But there we go. So Claire Evelyn's story. What advice would you give to others who are just discovering about asexuality and considering where they are or not? That nobody fits into a clearly defined label box. Everybody, whether they admit it or not. That's very interesting. I'm not going to say that no one fits in a clearly defined label box, because there might be some people out there that do feel they fit that. And I think just as much as there's people that are judgmental about, you know, oh, you fit that box, and people trying to push people into a box, I think that if someone feels the identity fits them exactly, then they should go with what they feel like, not be dictated to by someone else or anyone else. Just like people shouldn't be dictated to and told to go into a specific asexual box when they don't quite fit in it. I personally don't fit in an exact asexual box because I have some sexual behavior with the way I like to kiss and dance, even though I have zero sexual attraction and I'm hyper kisser. Sorry, it's very hot in the UK. And I'm hyper romantic, which is very rare for asexuals, very rare for anyone to be a hyper kisser. So yeah, I just think there's probably some truth to that maybe people don't fit into a box exactly, but I think that it should be for the person to decide, because some people are like, oh my God, this fits me so well. I'm so glad I've discovered this. But I do talk to a lot of asexuals that feel like they're not quite one thing or the other. So it's still a valid point. What advice would you give to others who are just discovering about asexuality and considering where they are or not? This is Waywalker's story. So, be you. If a label helps you get comfy in your skin, sweetheart, use the heck out of it. If none of them fit, that's okay. Just trust your gut and never allow yourself to be violated. Especially not because that's your primary relationship. You're really being unfair, and not putting out is abuse. That line is a big fat lie, and don't buy it. And I think, yeah, that's so important. Like, it's not about being unfair or selfish if you don't want to have sex. It's about looking after your own body, respecting yourself, and not allowing it to be abused, and not allowing people to do things to it when they are not entitled to do that, and they are not entitled to do things that you don't want to have done to it. Your body is your own. It's a temple. And it's beautiful. You don't have to do anything with anyone. Sex is not love. I have to make that perfectly clear, right? Sex is definitely not love. So if someone's saying to you, oh, you love me, have sex with me, that's not love, right? Sex is just something some people choose to do together. Choose being the word, right? If you don't want to do it, when I say choose, I mean of your own free will, not because someone's putting pressure on you that, oh, if you love me, you'll do this, right? So if you come across someone who wants sex and you don't, they're not suitable for you. Just don't do it, and be a virgin forever if you want to be. You know what I mean? Like, do whatever's right for you. And finally, we're going to go to Juanita's story to end this episode. What advice would you give to others who are just discovering about asexuality and considering where they are or not? I would say take it slow. There is no rush to have sex or even get into a relationship. This is not the 16th century anymore, where marriage saved you from poverty. There is no need to get married anymore to connect with a family who owns land or resources. We have the state that looks after us when we're old. Women can work. You can live your whole life never having sex and you'll be fine. I love this. Go and enjoy your hobbies and your passions. There are other ways that we can get companionship and community so that you don't feel alone. This is why the asexual community is so good. It's a way that we as a species, I love that bit, can find and create alternative ways to being with each other that is not based on sex and marriage or religion. I think that's so important. And obviously with the advent of AI and AI relationships and dating, where more people, not just asexuals, but lots of people all around the world are having relationships with AIs now, which don't involve sex and genitalia, it stands to reason why asexuality should be accepted more and more in the future, because obviously having a relationship with AI that doesn't have genitalia and it, you know, and it's, you're not having a sexual relationship with it. It's very similar to an asexual person who's having a relationship with a human without sex, without genitalia involved. Do you know what I mean? So the more people accept AI and human relationships, a lot more I think should be accepting of asexuality. Hi, happy to see you. Honestly, never want sex or need it. Apps. What's your name? Absol Hunter, is that? 251. Thank you for commenting. It's lovely to see you. Yeah, so that's the end of the episode tonight. But I'm glad you came in and spoke at the end. That's really good. So, you know, I think it's beautiful if you never want sex and you know that and you don't need it. As a personally sex repulsed asexual for me these days, and as a person who's never experienced sexual attraction, or I have had sex in my past, I don't ever have the need, urge, or want for partner sexual intercourse. That's how I know I'm a pure asexual, because I never get those feelings. I get the feeling and urge to kiss a guy because I'm a hyper kisser, but not to have sex. And kissing for prolonged periods of time doesn't make me want to have sex, which sexuals never understand. They're like, how are you controlling yourself and your urges? I'm like, I'm really not, because I don't have them in the first place. And they just can't understand that. But I know it's true, you know, and so they're baffled. But for me, it's just like natural for me. Like, I know a lot of asexuals are not that much into kissing from my experience of talking to lots of asexuals over the years and running asexual groups of my own. But I'm really into kissing, which makes it harder for me, because in some ways I'm more suited to a heterosexual guy in that way. But in the fact that I don't want sex, I don't want to take my clothes off, I'm not suited to a heterosexual guy at all. I'd be better with an asexual guy. But until I get the right guy for me, if I ever do, I remain happily single. And yeah, cherish your single life while you have it, I say, people, as well. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. Thanks, Olivia, and thanks for Absol Hunter. I think that's how you pronounce your username, 251. I really appreciate you being here. If you just joined and it's the end of the episode now, please catch up with it on the replay. Don't forget get a copy of Asexual Perspectives book. This is on Amazon throughout the globe, and it should be able to be ordered from all good bookshops as well, but Amazon is obviously one that sells it the most. So go and grab a copy of that. I'll see you soon next for your live stream. Lots of love. Subscribe, hit the bell icon. Don't forget to have notifications on so you get notified every time I go live like now or post a new video. I tend to post at different times so that everyone across the globe can see me in real time sometimes and know what I'm up to. Lots of love. Take care. I'll see you soon.